Hi, it's Adam with Milo's Restoration, and today I've got a authentic 1940s, 1950s kind of retro style mid-century dresser or chest that I'm going to be refinishing, and I'm going to be painting the case and restanding the drawer fronts. So starting, I'm just removing all of the drawers out of the case to get it ready for painting. I'm just applying some Bondo here. I'm using a spatula to kind of spread it out some and get it as level as I can, but I'll sand it all flush. Just kind of the off note, people might be wondering why not refinish the veneer and repair all of it as opposed to just the drawer fronts. And really, veneer repairs are really expensive, and they work if you'll get the money back out of it. But for this particular piece, I just don't think that I could. So here I'm just sanding all that Bondo flat and all of the clear coat as well. There was a little bit of orange peel in it, and I really just want to get a really smooth surface to start with the primer. You really don't have to remove all of the finish, although you can if you think that the finish is failing. But in this case, it's really not necessary. So for this little curved area, and there's a lot of intricate details in there, I decided to use a degreaser and a cleaner on that as opposed to just starting with sanding because I knew that I was not really going to be able to get a great sanding on it. And I also just wiped the whole thing off with a damp towel after finishing the sanding. So this is just a shellac-based primer I'm applying. It's BIN. It's available at pretty much any store. It sprays great. It's got a it's very thin, and it works pretty much out of the can for basically any spray gun. So this is just like a kind of particular spackle that I'm using right here. I use these for the shallower repairs where it would be harder and kind of make less sense to use Bondo. And it's pretty good. It holds up pretty well in comparison to most spackling. And it's a very quick drying spackle too. Here I'm just sanding all the spackle as well as the primer with a, I think, 280 grit on a surf prep. So this is Command by Benjamin Moore that I'm spraying. It's a pretty good paint to use for furniture flippers. It has a really fast dry time, and if you are furniture flipping, I would definitely not recommend getting some paint that has over a 2 hour dry time. It's just really hard to accomplish much whenever you have to wait that long. And a lot of the water based lacquers, as well as Command, they have about an hour to some, down to a 15-minute dry time. And I like Command because it's not as hard to use as a water based lacquer, but it has a quick dry time. Sometimes I'll sand in between coats. I'll use a higher grit, like a 320 or maybe a 240. This is just a second coat of paint. I'm probably thinning it by about 20%. So I'm using a 1.8 needle nozzle set. Okay, so I just sped up me sanding through the finish on these drawer fronts. I could have used a stripper here, but I just didn't want to make a mess. And I really just thought that this veneer was really thick. I could tell by looking at it, just by looking at the side. It was a pretty thick veneer, so I wasn't too worried about burning through it. I was pretty careful though. I started with a lower grit, but then I switched once I got a little bit through the finish to where I wouldn't burn through it. I'm generally not too worried about it in areas where I know that it's not going to be a huge issue, especially with a thick veneer like this one. So I also sanded inside of the drawers before I applied some, I think this was Restore Finish and in Golden Oak. I just applied that before staining the drawer fronts with some Minwax dark walnut gel stain. I will probably top coat these in a couple days with something, but for now, I'm just going to leave them unfinished besides the dark walnut gel stain. I'm cleaning these old hardware with some denatured alcohol to get them ready for spray paint. I really love these hardware, but I just couldn't find any more like that. And so I just had to buy like two basic champagne colored knobs and paint them from Home Depot for the top one because it was missing some parts off the top drawer's hardware. So I was kind of sad about that, but it is what it is. So this is after the final coat of paint. And it makes a huge difference. If you paint outside, make sure that you paint in an area where it's not hot and the sun is not like cooking the object you're painting. Your results will be 10 times better. Here's the finished chest, and thanks for watching.